So we've got two brand new landing net handles in the Aero Pro range, a 4 metre one and a 5 metre one. And the biggest thing for me is picking the right one for the style of fishing you're doing the most. So I'm going to talk you through the 4 metre one first. For me, this is perfect when I'm using a short kit, which I use a lot of, and also when I'm fishing with a rod, 10 and 11 foot. How I like to use it personally is the first two sections, so the thinnest section and the middle section with a 14-inch frame. When I'm coming to places like Tunnel, I find that absolutely perfect. Again, a lot of fisheries now state that when you unhook the fish and it's in your landing net, you've got to transfer it from your landing net into your keep net via your landing net. So with it being that little bit shorter, it's so easy to manage. You know, it's not going to hurt your wrist. You're not trying to tip up a big landing net pole. And when you're fishing for lots of fish, efficiency is definitely the name of the game, and you don't even notice it with how light it is. Say it's the perfect length. What you tend to find is when you're using a short kit and a short rod, it's where the fish rise up when you go into net them. So when you're using a short kit rather than a long kit, they come up really, really close. So you don't need a really long landing net pole. Likewise, when you're using a 10, 11 foot rod, when you're playing them and you lift up, everything's really close to you when the fish pop up. So getting your landing net handle to suit, so nice and easy. Again, if I was going somewhere that's similar to Tunnel, a place called Monkall, but there's a lot more carp in there, then what I'd like to use is my 4 metre landing net pole, but I use the thickest section and the threaded middle section, and then I'd opt for a 16-inch landing net head, slightly bigger because I'm catching those bigger fish. I could still probably use the smallest and the middle section and it'd be absolutely fine, but I always find when you're catching big carp, especially if you're a little bit high off the water, when you can grab the spreader block, it's absolutely fine using your thinnest section. But if you're that little bit higher off the water and you're actually, what I'm going to say, manhandling the landing net pole, like picking it up in the middle and then trying to get it over your nets, that's when I'd always opt for the middle threaded section. So that, for me, like the 4 metre one. Again, though, that's the style of fishing that I do a lot, but if you tend to use a long kit quite a lot of the time, or using a long kit and a short free, or a long kit and a long free, then what I like to use is the 5 metre one. The reason being is you could use the 4 metre one, but for my style of fishing, it's just that little bit too long. I don't tend to fish rivers, I don't go to many places where I'm really, really high off the bank, so I want it the lightest and as stiff as it possibly can be. So for me, that using the thinnest section and the middle section is that little bit longer than the first two in the 4 metre version, so it's easy for me to be able to reach at that length. Likewise, if I was using an 11, 12 foot rod, using the middle two sections, if I was fishing for silvers, again the smallest section and the middle section, but then if I was fishing for carp, I'd use the number 2 and the number 3. That's probably how I should word it. And then again, it's picking the landing net head that suits. So I think a lot of the time we're all frightened of using something that's too small, but especially in your match fishing, it can be just as big a disadvantage of actually using something too big. So as a guide, again, what suits me, when I'm F1 fishing and an odd carp, I can easily get a carp into this 14-inch one, 10 pound, you know, maybe a bit bigger as long as I get him in head first. That's the landing net that I opt for. If I was fishing, say, more of a carp venue where I'm more targeting smaller carp, up to maybe 15 pound and plenty of bream, then the 16-inch one's perfect for me. But if you was going to somewhere like Meadowlands or the Specie Lake on Larford, when you know you're fishing in the edge and you know it could go under and it could be well over 20 pound, then I don't mess around and I just make sure I've got the great big one on. So yeah, with your landing net poles, it's just picking the right one that basically fits what you're doing most of. And again, with the landing net sizes, try not to pick one that's too small. Likewise, try not to pick one that's too big. And it's just about getting the items of tackle that basically suit your fishing the most.